Stablecoins are one of the best businesses in crypto. You know that, I know that. Today we're talking about something very new that actually really interests me. It's called GAIB, and we're going to cover this new innovative DeFi product, which is a cross between DeFi and AI. And we're going to cover what it is, how it works, and just kind of what you can do with it right now. So this is an educational video. We're going to try and cover a bit of background, but then cover the product, and then of course some of the things that you can actually do with it. This won't be, hopefully isn't too long, but if it is, my apologies. Let's start off with a quote. For every $1 spent on NVIDIA H200s, servers can generate $7 in revenue over 4 years. Now, where did this quote come from? It came from NVIDIA themselves. This just really goes to show where we are in the landscape and how profitable compute can actually be. You know, there's a big saying now that, you know, compute is the currency of the future, or will be the currency of the future. So the question is, how do you kind of get exposure to it? If you're able to earn these insane ROI, we're talking 7x over 4 years using some of these compute hardware devices, how do you get exposure to it? Because they're expensive. H200 GPUs cost $30,000 a chip. And at times it's kind of hard to actually buy them. Secondly, you can't sometimes just buy a single chip. You have to buy a whole supercomputer, a whole configuration, and that costs multiples or multitudes more. And just going back to that comment about compute being the currency of the future, look, we've seen it with gold. You know, you could argue a little bit with oil. You know, is it going to be GPU? You know, a lot of people are saying that. Sam Altman is saying that as well. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But if it is, how do you get exposure to it? How, you know, is there a way? So my question is, what if we can use tokenization to get a new novel way to express your exposure to compute? And that's what we're going to be talking about today. AIFI is this new concept where we're kind of doing the crossover between AI and financial instruments, turning AI assets into financial tradable assets. The question that some of you might be asking, though, is like, why do we even need to do this? And there's a number of reasons. I think, firstly, you know, the ability to own some of these assets, which are usually unattainable. Capital efficiency and liquidity by basically tokenizing these assets, and then being able to create unique instruments and yield strategies through them, which is what GAIB are definitely doing, which you can definitely, we'll definitely talk about in a moment. But, you know, just to show you really kind of taking these assets, tokenizing them and creating interesting instruments around them, and then using them in markets. And, you know, you'll know a lot of the familiar faces on here. We have Curve, Aave, Uniswap, Pendle, GMX, Hyperliquid, and a whole range of different interesting things that you can do with these different instruments. Powered by AI, of course. Well, backed by AI, I should say. So what is GAIB? They are essentially a protocol where you can, where they do GPU financing to data centers and cloud operators. They have both an off-chain and an on-chain component, and essentially it enables them to tokenize these GPU instruments and bring them on-chain to unique DeFi protocols. Now, they have a few different ways of basically earning profit or earning revenue from this. A debt model in which they earn, or which users can earn interest through borrowed capital. An equity model where the GPUs are used to earn revenue through whatever they're used in AI, and that there is some sort of revenue share agreement, and a hybrid model. And we'll go into the exact mechanics of how everything works shortly. But before we do that, let's just kind of go over a kind of diagram in terms of how this works, just to kind of give you an idea in your head, like what is actually happening conceptually and how GAIB are trying to do this. So we'll start off with the user, aka you and me. We've got maybe a couple of dollars, maybe a little bit more with the market doing well fairly recently. And what we can do is we want to put it into some strategies. We want to earn some yield. So what we can do is we can deposit our cash into GAIB's account. And that will be used to essentially get hold of some GPUs. Now, these GPUs can be sent over to data centers or basically AI protocols who need to leverage them, whether it's through a borrow agreement or whether it's through some equity share agreement. They use these GPUs to earn revenue and do whatever they need to do in the world of AI. And that revenue can be shared directly with you, the guy who basically helped to finance them. And that's just like, in a nutshell, the premise of this. It can get a little bit more complicated, and that's kind of what we'll talk through now. So here you go. We're going to go through this one by one. Again, I'll go through it fairly quickly just so that you can kind of just get an overview of how this works. There is a diagram that I have in one of my slides later on that really kind of puts this all together as well. So investors, you and me, we deposit funds into the GAIB vault, which is kind of this central funding pool. They get that vault has assets that get sent into a variety of different separate portfolios. We call them segregated portfolios, and each of these segregated portfolios has an underwriter. So the segregated portfolio has a loan agreement with the underwriter for loans to these GPU providers. And once we've got these GPU providers, they can be used by whatever these companies need them for. They can have the profit share agreement, or they can have a borrowing fee, and essentially the revenue is generated essentially goes back into the original vault. That's just basically how this works in a nutshell. And again, you can pause the video here to just kind of have a look at how all of these different parties play a role in this. But that's essentially how this works. Essentially, these cloud and data centers are the ones who need these GPUs, and they will earn revenue. And that's where the funding really comes from as well. Yeah, that's basically it. There is a treasury bill involvement as well, so there are some treasury bills in the reserve, and that's kind of where GAIB also kind of earns some revenue as well. And this comes into play with the stable coin that we'll talk about in a moment, which is called AID. That's basically it. You can pause the video to just kind of get your head around all of these different flywheel effects, but I won't go into too much detail there. We just kind of covered the brief overview of how that works exactly. So let's move on to the AI synthetic dollar, the stable, or the synthetic stable coin, I should say, which is called AID, which is essentially a stable coin backed by a portfolio of GPU financing deals and a reserve of treasury bills or other liquid assets. So that's why I said the treasury bills come into play as well. And this is essentially a stable coin backed by that tokenized deal with those GPUs, and that's where AID comes from. So what can you actually do with this stable coin? You can stake it to obviously earn yield, and that yield comes from the financing agreements that we talked about before, or from the revenue share. So it's either going to be a borrow fee, or it's going to be a profit share, or perhaps a mixture of the two. And we can use this stablecoin to do all of the things that we like to do in DeFi, and that's where the likes of Uniswap, Curve, Aave, and all of these Hyperliquid and all of these other protocols can come into play, as well as all the different chains as well. I'd love to see this on Bearer chain, where you can integrate proof of liquidity, just to kind of add some extra yield and flywheel effects. But you can do all the usual, the trading, the lending, staking, LPing, going on Pendle with PTs and YTs, all of that usual stuff, speculate on the yield that GPUs provide through YTs. That is a possibility here. These guys did raise, and they did a pretty good raise, led by Hack VC. I'm not sure exactly how much. They raised 5 million. It says it on screen. Sorry. So yeah, pretty good there. And when Mainnet? Well, that's the main question. It is actually live right now, and so users can actually deposit to mint the first AID. You have to deposit, I believe, USDC and or other stablecoins, similar stablecoins, and they have a vault. It's filled already, though. Maybe by the time you're watching this, the next vault is now live, but this is a way for you to earn some points before their eventual TGE. Yeah. Yield is earned through T-bills and GPU financing. You receive AID tokens one-to-one for your stables that you deposit, and these convert into AID on Mainnet tokens, and yeah, you earn some points alongside. You can actually there is a referral scheme, so you can actually earn some additional points, but yeah, this is your kind of way to get your airdrop. So yeah, I think that's the main thing that I just really wanted to cover, just the overall concept of how this works, and what it can become in the future, hopefully. I think this is something new. It's something interesting. There are some risks, of course, associated with this, and that includes the audits that are basically behind this, the credit underwriters who are basically helping to finance these deals as well. There are obviously going to be custodians involved with holding the reserves for some of these assets as well. But I think for us as a retail user, we're able to kind of get our hands on these stable coins that are backed by GPU financing deals and use them in these interesting different strategies, whether it's lending or borrowing, yield trading, or derivatives and whatnot. That's kind of the cool thing. This isn't the end game for GAIB. I do believe they will be kind of working on a whole range of other tokenized products that can be used in DeFi that are backed by things like GPU. And let's see kind of how compute changes and some of the other tokenized instruments that we can build around compute over time. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. Let me know what your thoughts are. We can definitely cover this again sometime in the future. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. We'll be back with more educational video in the not so distant future.